Hey, thanks for tuning in to another episode of What Really Happened. This is your Carter Hall, your host. And for this next podcast you're about to listen to, I got to sit down with Mallory Grimm from West Texas A&M University. We actually got to sit down and talk over Skype about her time working at Disney as a college student, her time working on the Bateman team, as well as some other fun, interesting things. So I hope you just sit back and have some fun with this podcast because I most certainly had a lot of fun doing this. So here we go. Let's get into it. Here's what really happened with Mallory.
Myself a while. Shine that light on me. I'll sit and tell you my stories. Shine on me, and I will find a song. I will sing it just for you.
My name is Carter Hall, and welcome to another episode of What Really Happened. I'm here with a very special guest. I'm here with Mallory Grimm. She is a advertising and PR major at WT, and she also she had the opportunity to work at Disney as an intern, and she also is a part of the Bateman team. And Mallory, thank you for being on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So as I kind of just explained for a little bit, you kind of had the opportunity to be at Disney in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. So if you want, could you kind of describe your experience there and what it was like as a college student working there?
Yes, so I was a part of the Disney College program at Walt Disney World in Orlando, and that's kind of just like a basic internship that anyone in college can join. There are multiple roles that you can do down at the park. So my role or job, they kind of have it like in different kind of terms, I guess. So my when I say role, I mean like my job. So my job was I was merchandise in the Magic Kingdom Park at Pirates of the Caribbean, in Adventureland. And then I also did a lot of like glow merchandise. So I was on like a glow cart in the middle of the park a lot of the time, and that was really fun. And that was an awesome experience because I got to meet so many awesome people from around the country and even the world too, because they do like international programs as well. So I made some awesome friends there, and I got to work at like the big vacation destination of the world, and it was so much fun. I loved it so much.
So apart from the internship, what was another big reason that you kind of decided to go to Disney? Like of all places, why there?
Yeah, well, I'd wanted to do this internship for ever since I was like 14 years old. So I applied twice because it's a pretty like lengthy application process. So I applied twice. The first time I didn't get in, and then the second time I finally got in, and I wanted to do this because I also want to work for Disney professionally later on. So I want to be a part of their communications and PR process, kind of specifically in at Walt Disney World doing PR and communications down there. That's the dream. So this was kind of just like a way for me to get my foot in the door, I guess. So yeah.
Nice. Cool. So, um, how was the decision process for you? Like, was it, you said you thought about it when you were 14, right? So, was it, for you, was it a pretty quick, easy decision automatically? So, is it pretty easy for you to choose that, or how was that process like for you deciding?
Yeah, cause I found out, through, I saw someone on YouTube who was vlogging their program, back in, what was it, like 2013, I think. And I was like, I want to do that so bad. So the first time I applied, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this. And it was the second semester of my freshman year, and I didn't get in, and I was really bummed about that. But whenever I got accepted the second time, I was a little hesitant to accept the offer to do the internship because I was, you know, I haven't really lived anywhere outside of Texas, and I was nervous. I was like, what if I don't, make any friends down there? What if I get a bad job? What if I'm going to be miserable? So I wrestled with it for a little bit, and I asked my academic advisor and another professor at WT who I trust, and they they were just like, Mallory, that's ridiculous. Just go and do it. Like, you wanted this for so long. They were like, don't even worry about that right now. You're gonna be just fine. Just go and do it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And I accepted it, and it was the best decision of my life, and I'm very glad that I did it.
Sure, it sounds like a lot of fun, Like, I actually got to, when I started following on their social media, I saw your post, like, that looks like a dream job pretty much, Like, I've never been to Disney, but, like, that's obviously a goal of mine to go one day, but, um,
Yeah.
so it was really cool to actually get to see all the stuff you get to do, and,
Mm.
the average, I think, student or person doesn't really get to see as much as you did, so I thought that was really cool. So, is there any like lessons that you learned at Disney that you carry on today? Like you maybe the average student doesn't learn that you still would use in the classroom or out of the
Oh,
classroom?
yeah. One of the big things that I learned at Disney is also just like was pay attention to other people. Um, you know, they're very big on creating experiences for their guests and wanting them to have the best time possible. And, you know, there are days where you would go into work and you were just like not feeling it, whatever, you'd be tired from working long hours, but then like once you actually got out into the park, you were like, okay, how am I going to make this person's day, whoever comes up to me. So it really was just pay attention to other people because you never know what other people are dealing with and what they're going through. So that's kind of like my big thing is always, pay attention to others. Cause yeah, you don't know what they're going through. So you're like, how can I make their day? How can I, what little things can I do when I encounter someone that, um, can make their day basically. So that was a really big thing. And then also another really big thing was like trusting myself too, because I by the time like when I was going to um to the internship, I was wrestling with a lot of like self-doubt with myself. And really that internship just taught me, trust yourself, trust your gut, you're going to do the right thing. And if you don't do the right thing, that's okay. Learn from your mistakes basically. And it also taught a lot of like, um, for me, it taught me to be on my own a lot because this was the first time I'd been away from my family and I didn't have any like major support system right with me all the time. So it was also, taught me a little bit to be on my own and a little bit of maturity through that. I'd have to like schedule days where I'm like, okay, I have to go grocery shopping. I have to do laundry. We need to make sure our apartment's clean. So things like that. So it really was a very big learning experience with a lot of those. I know that's kind of long, but
No, it's all good. No,
but
no, you do whatever you say, whatever.
but I a very big learning experience. Even when I didn't think it really was.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
so like I'm gonna try to change just the layout real quick, just make sure people know who's talking. So I said it that
Yeah.
before. Okay, can you hear me? Cool.
Yes.
Cool. So I didn't want to change anything by accident. Sorry, but
No.
so you're good. What was I gonna say? So with your creativity that you have, I think you're one of the more creative people I've seen at WT. So with the creativity that you have, how does that help you? How did that help you while you're at Disney? Like, did it help you any? Or so, how did it help you?
Uh, it helps me a little bit because, when I was working in the Pirates of the Caribbean gift shop, you're kind of a little bit, you're in character, I guess you would say. Even though you're not a character performer, you're not performing as, Rapunzel or Cinderella or something. You are in character because Disney, it's all about the show. When you're there, you're kind of in an immersive environment. So when I was there in Pirates especially, I would have kids come up to me and you would get to use like fun language. You'd be like, "Oh, ahoy there, matey. How was your?" If they were coming off guard, you'd be like, "Ahoy there, matey. how was your sail with Captain Jack Sparrow? And they'd be like, oh, it was awesome. And, you'd ask them, have you found any treasure today? So you really got to be a part of that, kind of immersive environment, and it kept me on my toes a lot, because sometimes if somebody asked me, what's, how's it been today? I'd be like, oh, it's been a great day here, on the shore. Did you have a great sail? Things like that. So it really kept you on your toes. And especially for me, because I'm more in my creative side, I'm more of like kind of I like to write a lot. So it was almost like script writing, kind of just on the spot. So that was really fun, especially with the kids. Kids are able to believe that a little bit more than the adults. And especially when I was on the glow carts in the park sometimes, you'd have a family come up to you and they'd be wanting to buy a bubble wand from you. And you notice that, the little boy who's with them, he's wearing it's like my birthday pin. And you ask them, oh, it's your birthday. How's your day been? Or how's the celebration? And, you get to talk with them a little bit. And then, as a cast member, you're able to make little like magic moments for guests. So with that, I would see that, and I wouldn't do this for everyone, but there would be certain occasions, just kind of like whatever you feel, the energy from the family, and you'd be able to say, oh, I see it's your birthday. Well, I was actually talking to my friend Mickey Mouse earlier, and he told me that you were going to come see me today. And whenever you came to see me, he wanted me to give you this. And I would give them a bubble wand, no charge to the family, and be like, that's your birthday present from Mickey. And they'd be so excited for that. So you really got to, just kind of improvise everything. And that really kept you on your toes. And I think, you kind of have to be a little bit of a creative person in that regards. So that was the big thing that I got to do a lot.
Yeah, so that sounds really interesting, just having that interaction with people, I've always heard different stories about that, like that interaction, especially with kids, I think sounds like super fun,
Yes. Yeah.
So, how are you, would you say that would be, so, I can ask this, how are you a different person today because of that experience at Disney?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. I'd say I'm a little bit more confident. And I currently work in a retail position here back in Texas, so I'm a little bit more confident when it comes to talking, to customers who are asking information from me. So I'm a little bit more confident in myself, because normally I'd be like, oh, I don't know if that's the right answer. Did I say that right or whatever? And then kind of with Disney, they really want to set you up for success. So when I felt that support, it, made me more confident in myself. So I'm a lot more confident in a way, that I present myself to, not just like not even when I'm, in a professional environment, just in like my day-to-day actions. And it also taught me that hard work will get you really far. Because, we had our coordinators and our leaders, they would see you with guests, and they would see you, trying to make their experience the best that it can possibly be. And they would really compliment you on that. So I think also just a little bit of, kind of that positive reinforcement, and that really built up my confidence. So, and I guess I like trust myself more with things like that. So I haven't said this yet, but like I was supposed to be there. I was there from January of 2020 to March 2020. So I was supposed to be there until May, but of course with the pandemic, it shut down in the middle of my program. So I had to go home early. But even in those, like 2 months that I was there, it really just changed me so much. And I'm really grateful that I got to do it. That's kind of a long answer, but
Yeah, no, yeah, no, go with whatever you want to say. There's no limitations here. But yeah, it's just a crazy time, from what a year ago was until now. Everybody kind of goes to that crazy pandemic. But it's really cool that you at least had that, even though it was 2 months, those 2 months were probably a crazy fun time for you.
Oh
But
yeah.
so was working at Disney always an interest of yours, or was it always a part of the process for you? Like I don't know if that makes any sense. Or like you know what I'm trying to say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, no, that was always like my goal was to work at Disney at some point in my life. And even if like I said, even if I don't, have it as a full-time career in the future, I can still say I worked at Disney for a little part of my life. So it was never like, um, as far as like my degree plan goes, it was never, a must that I was doing, but it just so happened that it was just something I wanted to do really, really bad. Um, and it all fell into place. It almost seemed like too good to be true at some points. And yeah, everything just fell into place. So, it was, it was a big goal, but then it just all kind of became part of the process. And especially with what I'm doing now, and I've been putting that on my resume, and I've been, sending my resume to people for different opportunities, and they see that and they're like, oh my gosh, you worked at Disney, how was that? So it's a very big conversation starter too. Which I love. I'm always down to talk about it, I feel like I talk about it way too much too. but if someone wants to ask me about it, I'm always gonna, it's also like I'm very proud of it too, So um it's maybe sometimes almost to a fault, but like at other times I'll talk to someone about it for like 20 minutes, even if it's just like at my current job right now. And people love hearing about it, because, Disney's such a magical thing too. And people want to know like the inside secrets of all of it. And I'm like, I'm not going to give away everything, but I will be happy to talk about it more,
Yeah.
as long as someone's interested.
Yeah. So, when I see all those Mickey and Minnie Mouse ears behind you, is that something you eventually want to maybe go back to after you graduate and start a career there again? To go back to
Yes,
Disney?
yes, yes, that's my lovely little ear wall. I have a lot more like Disney collectible stuff around my room, but yes, I would love to go back down there after I graduate. If it's working in the park for a little bit, I'd be happy to do that, but I do want to pursue like a very, a professional career down there in kind of like an office environment. So like I said, doing communications for, Walt Disney World, whether that's communication with guests, whether that's for, with the cast members down there, things like that. Or even if it's a part of, because they have a communications team for the Disney College program. So even if I did that, I would love to do that. So um, that's a big goal of mine. If it's not immediately after I graduate, maybe after I've built up my career a little bit, maybe that'll be
Sure, yeah.
working here. Yeah, maybe it might be working here in the Panhandle. I'm not sure, but I would love to go back there as soon as I can.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I think you'd be really good for that role. I think you looks like you're really destined for that area for sure. But so we kind of talked about interests. Um, so other than Disney, what other interests do you have outside of Disney and school?
Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, Disney is a very big part of it, and it's a big umbrella too. One thing I am very passionate about is mental health advocacy. Specifically, how should I say this? Specifically, trying to end the stigma that's around mental health and mental illness, just because I've dealt with that in my life. So I'm very passionate about, working on things for myself, but then also being there for other people with it, whether that's researching different things, just willing to talk about those kind of hard conversations. So that's a very big thing that I'm passionate about. And I'm also, very passionate about entertainment too. So not whether it's not just Disney, I love theater, I love the arts, I love music too. So I'm a little bit more kind of inclined to that area. Like if you asked me anything about like sports or whatever, I'm not gonna know anything about that.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about I don't
no
know
worries.
anything about
Hey, No worry, no sports questions coming your way. You're good.
Okay, good. Good. I'm like, I don't know anything about football, basketball, baseball. Like, even though my parents were very athletic, my brother's super athletic. I'm the least athletic person you'll ever meet in your entire life, so I was kind of like the black sheep of my family. But yeah, those are some of the things I'm passionate about.
Cool. That's really awesome. So, you said like entertainment stuff like that's one of your favorite
Yeah.
interests. So, like, what about entertainment like draws you in? Do you think like what do you like? What entertainment aspects do you like? I think about it.
Yeah, I think, humans were storytellers by nature. So I like the idea of being able to escape within a story for even just, like an hour, a half hour or whatever. Um, and, there are many different formats you can tell stories in. So whether that's movies, theater, music, um, even like comedy, like stand-up comedy, that's a form of storytelling. So I love, and with that, you get to, kind of go into a world that's, outside of your own. So I love being able to, make those stories, but then also, participate in other people's stories too. So I think that's my big thing with it.
Oh, nice. So, I gotta ask. So, who you mentioned stand-up comedy? Who are some of your favorite stand-up comedians, like right now, or maybe of all time? If you can narrow it down, who would it be? It could
Oh
be one
gosh.
or
My favorite is definitely John Mulaney. I I
okay.
love his yeah, yes, I love him. I love all of his stand up. And then also, I mean, he doesn't just focus on stand up. He also does a lot of, he was a writer at Saturday Night Live. He's also a voice actor, so he's done voice acting. Things like that. So I love, you know, how he can do multiple things. Probably him, and then also, definitely a big one from like my, childhood and adolescence is Bo Burnham. Um,
Awesome. Yeah.
yes, yes, I know
Okay.
he doesn't really, yeah, he doesn't really do stand up anymore, but like he does movie directing now and things like that. So I've always really liked him. And it's also, I like dark humor too, and he kind of always had a little bit of an edge, but it wasn't, like insanely offensive or whatever. So I always really liked him. So those are my two favorites.
Yeah, those are pretty good two favorites, I think. They're pretty, I'm about to probably confuse a lot of kids if there's any kids watching right now or going to watch this podcast, but I remember Bo Burnham back when he was on Vine those days when I was in high school making those
Yeah.
videos. There's probably
Uh-huh.
kids out there who probably don't even remember what Vine is. It's like our version of TikTok, It's like, yeah, but yeah. So I remember like making all. That's how I first got introduced into Bo Burnham, and
Yeah.
then through one of my friends like, hey, you should check out this special stand-up special. I'm like, he's a comedian. Like I didn't know he was doing that stuff, and I, of course, fell in love with his comedy. And eventually, I was a kind of a fan, like a little fan of John Mulaney's as well. But what made me, I don't know if you've seen the series. I imagine you have as a big fan of your, but I became a big fan of Big Mouth, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
so one of my friends said there's a fourth season coming out, and I had never seen any of the series at all. So I binge watched like the first three seasons. So like I don't know what about the show I like, but like I fell in love with this John Mulaney's. I think his character and Nick Kroll's character. So I don't know why, just those two characters. I don't know, but yeah,
Oh yeah.
those two I think are probably my like I said two good comedians to watch though. But
Yeah. Yeah. Big Mouth is so funny. I mean, there are some points when you watch it, you just like cringe out of your, I'm like, I just cringe out of my skin, but it's really funny because I think it's also a really good like look into the, the parts of, growing up and adolescence that people, don't really want to look at. You know what I'm saying? It was, because I feel like if I saw that show when I was, 12, 13, I'd be like, oh my God,
I know,
how that's exactly how I'm feeling. So it was, yeah, no, I love that show too. There's a little controversy around it, but there's going to be controversy around anything if you really
yeah.
dig into it enough. But I'm a big fan of that, and I love Nick Kroll too. Nick Kroll is another one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I still think like, how does he even make it to Netflix? Sometimes like some of the episodes I've seen, like how did this
Yeah.
even get green lighted for Netflix? But I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
so we're kind of talking about like I guess kind of talking about interests still. Do they normally change often for you, or do you pretty much get new, or do they change? Like, do they evolve or grow over time? How's that work for you?
Yeah, yeah. I think I have some, I feel like I go through phases of things, but then I have some that just will stick with me forever. So that's very interesting. They do change quite often. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I get like hyper fixated on like one thing for, a week or two, and then I'll totally forget about it. And then I'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember that. So they do change pretty often. Which is very interesting, and it's hard to keep up with sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's my obsession this week?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I kind of go through that same thing. I'm always like, what can I do this week, or trying to help do something. Be anything I can
Yeah,
be creative, it can any interest, hobby, whatever. But
yeah.
as I kind of mentioned earlier, you're part of the Bateman team at WT. So,
Mhm.
how did that come about? Was that an interest, or how was that whole process for? If you kind of explain that to people, how would you explain it?
Yeah, I'll give a little bit of background on Bateman because the Bateman team it's a competition. It's through the Public Relations Student Society of America, and it's a nationwide competition where schools are able to assemble 4 to 5 students who will they are going to create a public relations campaign and then do a big evaluation on it. And we're all given the same client, the same prompt. And it's about oh gosh, how long did we spend on this? It's about a 6 month process of everything. So I was, chosen, or I was inquired to apply from my academic advisor, Professor Kim Bruce. Shout out to Kim. Love her so much. She's the best. She approached me and asked, "Hey, you've expressed interest in Bateman because I was familiar with the whole process, and I've known people who have been on the team and did the campaigns in past years." And she said, "You've expressed interest in Bateman before. How do you feel about applying for this year?" And I said, "Yeah, that sounds great." And I was really looking because this was in fall of 2020, so this was my first semester back at WT from the time I took off at Disney. And I wasn't really involved in anything. I was having a really hard time like getting my foot back in the door. And she was like, I was like, this is going to be a perfect opportunity for me to get involved a little bit more. And I said, yeah, let's do it. So I applied with it, and then I was put on a team with 3 other people. I was put on with Sophia Brito, Laura Putz, and Jordan Condi, and they were a fantastic team to work with. They we all kind of have like different strengths that we brought to the table, and it was a really good dynamic. So I was very pleased with all of it.
That's cool. So you pretty much like the Avengers of the Bateman team. It sounds like.
Kind of, yeah. And I feel like you know, with this kind of competition, because you need to be a little bit familiar with the PR process, and I'm very familiar with it, but this was my first time ever really like implementing a whole campaign,
Yeah,
just from scratch. So that was really cool.
yeah,
And I'm not super like Sophia was fantastic because she's super creative with like graphic design, and I'm not a design person really. My brain just doesn't operate that way, and she was fantastic with it. And
yeah.
so was Laura, and Jordan constructed our whole website, so they were fantastic on that, and they're great writers too. And we all brought a lot of good ideas to the table. So I was, and I didn't really know any of them super well, but now I feel like, oh my gosh, like these guys are my friends. That just kind of happens when you spend so much time together.
Yeah, sure. It's always cool meeting those people or gaining new friendships that's out of nowhere. It's pretty cool
Yeah.
process. So, you said you all have like the same like campaign and creation and all that. So, what can people expect from you all? Like, what can we look forward to? I guess in the sense, like, is it finished yet, or are you close to finishing yet? Like, what can we expect with the finished product?
Yes, we actually finished earlier this week. Because you get you're able to implement the campaign for a whole month, and then you have a couple weeks to report on everything. Report how, how the campaign went, what strategies and tactics did you use, what research did you come up with, things like that. So then we compiled a big ol' report of it about, I think it's like 17 pages.
Uh,
Yeah, it was kind of a lot, and we submitted that to the judges at PRSSA, but we were able during the campaign we were able to talk to a lot of like student groups, and a big one that we targeted was WT student government, because they do a lot of our topic was about kind of reversing uncivil discussions and trying to have like a more civil discussion on things we disagree with. So they have a lot of discussions just naturally, trying to pass laws, things like that, because they're a democracy. And so we wanted to bring some of what we've researched to them. And I think and they were really appreciative with it, and they were very open to hearing what we had to say. So I think with them, because they are, the leaders on campus, I think with the tools that we gave them, they're going to be able to implement those in whatever areas they specify in on campus. So that was a really big one. But for now, we're sitting tight. We're just kind of waiting for, the results that we get from the judges. And, even if we don't make cause the top three, they'll get to present in front of a panel of judges, and then whoever wins that is going to, be deemed the winner. If we don't even make it to that or anything, I'm super proud of the work we did anyways. And I feel like if anybody, I know this whole topic, backwards and forwards. So I'm like, if anybody who's seen the campaign, even after it's over, wants to talk about it, I'm like, yeah, I'm open to discussing those things. So it was a long process, but I'm really proud of everything that we did.
Well, that's awesome. Well, hope you do good. Good luck and everything. So,
Thanks.
I think you're gonna do great. But kind of change gears a little bit. I see that Doctor Strange poster in the back, so I kind of want to talk about Marvel and a little bit of Disney stuff. So,
Heck
um,
yeah.
so, um, so Disney Plus. What's been some of your favorite shows and least favorite shows you think that you've seen so far?
Oh man. You know, oh gosh. I mean, right now I'm keeping up with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The third episode just dropped today, and I haven't watched it yet, but that's been really good. WandaVision, of course, I loved that.
Me
And
too.
what I love about Disney Plus is they're putting like a lot of old like nostalgic things on. Um, Especially like I watched the Muppets growing up, so they just put like all 5 seasons of the Muppet Show. I love the Muppets, and they have like all the Muppet movies on there. Um, so I've been loving, rewatching those. And even the old classics too, like Cinderella, um, Pinocchio, which terrifies me so much, but I will still watch it just because I love Jiminy Cricket, but Pinocchio scares the crap out of me. Um, some,
Pinocchio's
yeah, yeah, he's terrifying. Well, not Pinocchio isn't terrifying, like really, but like when all the boys like turn into little donkeys, it's
Oh
so
yeah,
creepy. I'm
yeah.
like, oh,
That's funny.
that just scares me so bad. I don't know why. It's just always giving me like the heebie-jeebies. Some bad stuff on Disney Plus. There are some old like Disney Channel movies from like the 90s. They're so bad. Some of them do not
Yeah,
age well at all, and they're so cringy. You're just like,
yeah,
ugh.
I know.
But they're good. They're good nostalgic factors. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That nostalgia always hits though. But some of the
Oh
bad
yeah.
CGI those movies back then are just like they're gross.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And you believed it too. You're just
I
like,
know.
okay, yeah, It's fine.
You know, little 8-year-old, 6-year-old me, I'm like, yeah, that seems legit. But
Yeah.
you grow up like, I actually bought that. I didn't, but
Yeah, you're like, this is
it
terrible.
is
Ugh.
like someone actually thought this was okay. Like what?
Yeah.
But so in your own words, why should people watch Disney Plus? You think?
Oh, I think Disney Plus has something for everyone, you know? Um, if you like, if you love Star Wars, I mean, they have, all the Star Wars movies on there, and then plus all the new series that they're coming out with. Even, some I just saw today that they had like a Star Wars like vintage section where it's, old
What?
Star Wars special. Yeah, yeah, it's like old like Star Wars like specials that I've never even heard of, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know what this is, and like the very first like version of the Clone Wars from 2003 is on there, so you can find anything, and especially with National Geographic, they have that partnership with them.
Yeah.
So if you want nature documentaries, you can watch nature documentaries. So they're putting out so much content. You're like, you can't watch it all. It's
I know.
impossible. So,
Yeah.
but you'll find your niche there.
I know for sure. One of my friends when I first got a Disney Plus, I was messaging her. She was like, I know from the gym, so she was messaging me one day. She's like, hey, we're just talking back and forth about different shows that we liked growing up. She goes, hey, did you know all these shows were on Disney Plus? And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, like there's even Stevens and all these different shows I remember growing up on. I'm like, yes. I'm like, I was like, I'm about to go back like 15 some years. I really saw my age. I'm 23, but it's like I feel like I want to go. I felt like with all these shows coming about or coming back, I felt like I really, Disney Plus really has that platform for people to feels like go back in time, if you will, and watch all those shows
Yeah.
that you grew up on. So I think
Yeah.
that's pretty cool for people out there. But yeah, so as we are kind of talking about Star Wars, they're gonna go back, a little bit in time. I don't know if you remember Jar Jar Binks or not. I kind of heard some controversy about this before. Do you think he belongs? So I don't know if I want to get your thoughts on that. I heard people say he doesn't belong in the Star Wars, so stuff like that. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on that? Because he's the first character that I remember from Star Wars the most. So I was like, I want to get your thoughts on that. As the biggest Star Wars fan as you are,
Oh yeah, Jar Jar Binks. I mean,
we're throwing it back a little bit.
oh yeah, Phantom Menace. Yeah, the prequels. Which the prequels are my favorite Star Wars trilogy. I love them so much. I think that's just because I remember when those were coming out. I feel I feel old now talking about that. But I think Jar Jar Binks, he has a purpose. Okay,
Yeah,
he has a purpose. It's a little confusing at some points, especially if you watch like the Clone Wars series, they'll have episodes that are just devoted to him. And
yeah,
even though he's super clumsy and he screws things up, ultimately he ends up like being the greatest strength that whatever the mission is or whatever. So I think he belongs. Do I like him per se? He's good comic relief at some points, but at other points you're just like, ugh, why?
yeah.
Why was this necessary? But then, so I I think he belongs. That might be a little controversial, but you
Yeah,
you love to hate him, I guess, if
yeah, for
that's
sure.
if that's what people are saying too. I think I don't love him. I don't hate him. I'm just kind of like, he's there.
Yeah, I remember back in the day with, like I said, Jar Jar was one of those first characters I remember from
Yeah.
back on like Star Wars days or in VHS back those days. I
Mm.
remember, yeah, those long days, long, long ago. But
Those were
those are the long days in the galaxy
anyone
long, long ago.
under and anyone under the age of, I don't know, anyone under the age of maybe 18 watching this or listening to this is going to be like, what's a VHS tape?
Yeah, they don't remember like, yeah, it's these little black tapes you put into a VCR. Like, what's a VCR? Like, just forget it. Just go back to Disney Plus.
Just
But
never mind.
yeah, never mind. Uh, way before your time. But so uh, talking about that, Jar Jar. When I talk about, you said you love to hate him, but talk about another character. I think everybody in the world kind of, I guess, unanimously loves. It's Baby Yoda. What are your thoughts on what they think?
Aw.
What do you think that they're gonna do? Do you think what do you think they're gonna do next with Baby Yoda? Or Goku next?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna have to say some spoilers about the Mandalorian. Did you finish the Mandalorian? I know you were watching it a little bit.
I finished a couple episodes. Maybe you can go ahead and spoil. I don't care. I'm not one of those people. But if there's anybody out there who's gonna listen, spoilers now. But yeah, you can go ahead and talk about it.
Yes, spoilers about Baby Yoda or Grogu or however you want to say. I say both. I'm like Grogu, Baby Yoda, don't matter to me.
Yeah.
But that's a great question because like at the end of Mandalorian season 2, okay, I am gonna spoil it, so stop listening now if anybody hasn't seen it.
I will
Because
spoil.
he knows the Force, and
Yeah.
he goes with Luke Skywalker. Luke takes him and he's gonna train him. Are we, because the Mandalorian's gonna continue, I'm like, I, I'm like, how are they? I have no idea, honestly. I'm like, is he
Yeah.
gonna, become super powerful? Because, it's also revealed that he was training in the Jedi Academy
Yeah.
during the prequels, and especially with like, when Anakin's rise there, and he somehow gets taken out of the academy before Order 66 and before Anakin goes in there with the Youngling Slayer 3000 and just whacks them all down,
Yeah.
So
You're like,
I don't,
yeah.
I'm like, I don't
Love
know, is
that.
he gonna get all his Jedi training back? I really don't know, but I love him. I think he's great. Of course he's super cute. Fun fact, like my eyeshadow that I'm wearing, it's the Baby Yoda palette from ColourPop.
Wow.
Like they made it. Yeah, they made it and I bought it. I was like, heck yeah, I'm gonna buy it. And
Yeah.
I have like a few Baby Yoda shirts and a pin and a like stuffed animal thing too. I'm all for him. So I love that guy.
Yeah. I heard. I don't know if you heard the same thing I have, but I tend to when I watch different series, I tend to look up things, and sometimes it
Mhm.
gets spoiled, sometimes there. So that's the one downfall of looking at. But I don't care because
Sure.
I know I'm gonna watch it. But one thing I found was a possibility. I don't know if it's true or not. Hopefully it is. I'm just gonna get your thoughts on it, your quick take on it. But the
Okay.
possibility of Baby Yoda in a possible meeting with Kylo Ren. So I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. So I don't know. Like that's what I heard. Someone made up a fan theory of that. So I was like, I wonder if that's a possibility. So I wanted to hear from you, see what your thoughts about it would be.
I think I've heard that too, because I know, because not Kylo, Luke kind of makes his own Jedi Academy a little bit after the fall of the Empire. So I don't know. There could be an encounter there. I hope it's a good encounter.
Yeah,
Um,
we don't want to
I
like
don't
people.
know. Does maybe Baby Yoda becomes a Sith? I don't
No,
know.
yeah, no, we don't want another encounter with Darth Vader with the Jedi
No,
again.
no,
No,
that'd be
no,
that'd be bad.
yeah. So, um, Mandalorian. I know you kind of briefly talked about it, but it was just Baby Yoda. But overall, just the Mandalorian. What are your first impressions of it? Like, what do you love about the series? What are your takeaways from it? What do you just what's your whole spill about the Mandalorian? What do you like? What do you like about it?
Oh, I loved it. I think, because we don't, with the actual Skywalker Saga movies, because it goes from episode 6 to episode 7 and after the fall of the Empire. So we don't really get to see what happens in between that time. So, because Mandalorian takes place after, I think it's what, like maybe a couple years after the Empire falls. So I like seeing kind of how they're rebuilding their world, things like that. And then also, especially in the second season, we're getting to see characters that we've never seen in live action form. They're bringing in a lot of characters from like different Star Wars lore, and then also like the animated series like the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels too. So I think that's really cool that um we get to see the involvement of those characters. And then also like it's you can tell there's a lot of like thought put in to the
Yeah.
series, especially with the creators, because Dave Filoni, he worked on Clone Wars very heavily, and this is kind of like his project, and Jon Favreau too. And then
Oh,
also
yeah.
the different directors they're bringing in for every episode, like Bryce Dallas Howard and Taika Waititi, who's one of my favorites. So I really love just the whole diversity of it, I guess. So it's it's a favorite of mine. If I encourage everyone to watch it, even if you don't, because even if you don't like Star Wars inherently, this kind of feels like it feels like Star Wars, but it doesn't at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand because I felt the same way too when I first started watching it. It's like each episode is like its own little movie in a way. You know what I mean? I don't know if
Yeah,
that makes any sense. Like,
yeah,
and sometimes it feels like I had it on the other day on the living room. My dad came and it's like these are like I'm about to probably get a lot of heat for this. I'm sorry, but from the audience. But he's like my dad's like yeah, it's like some of these episodes are better than the movies themselves sometimes. I'm like that's pretty cool. It's like I never really thought
yeah,
about that. I'm like I guess that's what I like about it. It's like how each episode kind of is different. Like I don't know why I just like Mandalorian, but I'm slowly getting into the first season. I'm about to end it, so I'm liking it. But you said you kind of I see Doctor Strange right there. We're gonna get into Marvel real quick. So
heck yeah,
and you mentioned Jon Favreau. So every time I think of him, I think of Happy Hogan. So
yeah, yeah.
so with Marvel, you said you've seen WandaVision, and we're both I guess kind of currently watching or waiting for the third episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So
Yeah.
um with these series coming out, where do you see like Marvel kind of going with these series into Phase 4? Do you think? And it's kind of hard
Oh,
to say right now with Falcon right now because you don't really know where it's going. But at least with
yeah.
WandaVision, where do you see it going forward? Do you think?
Oh man, I feel like we're gonna get just really in depth with a lot of characters that we haven't been able to really see a whole lot of, because the phases up to this point were all about, Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, Natasha, Bruce Banner, things like that. So I feel like we're gonna get to see a lot of these characters more in depth because I feel like, because with Wanda, we saw her in, what is it? I think like 3 movies, I think. Age of Ultron, Civil War, and Infinity War.
Yeah.
Um, but like with WandaVision, we really got to like kind of dig in at her and get more of like her story coming out. So I feel like we're gonna get to do that with a lot of characters, and especially with Falcon and the Winter Soldier right now. We're seeing. I think this is the most we've probably seen like Sam and Bucky, in one sitting because they didn't get a whole lot of screen time. So we're really getting to, dig in with how they're doing and things like that. So I'm really liking that. And
Yeah.
plus like I don't know much about it, but I know we're probably going to get opened up into like the multiverse and
Oh
stuff
yeah.
like that. And that's going to be super confusing, but you know
It
what?
is. Yeah.
I'm here for the ride, and I know a lot of people like know things from the comics, but I'm not a comic person. I'm not familiar with the comics that much, so I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'm excited. I don't have any clue. I don't have any clue what's gonna happen, but I'm here for the ride. I'm gonna find
No,
out.
no, me too. I'm kind of looking forward to what they're gonna do because I don't know what they kind of brought in. They said in a sense time travel. The last
Yeah,
Endgame, bringing back Ant-Man and all of that. He came back and 5 years their time was 5 hours his time. So I kind of
right.
wonder. I sit and I kind of I'm a bit of a Marvel nerd, so I kind of want to. I tend to think how can they implement storytelling and all that the next couple movies that come
Yeah,
out and like if that's a possibility to go back in time and kill Thanos and all this get the stones back. I'm like, is it a possibility to bring back Iron Man? I wonder if that could have been
yeah,
a possibility. I'm still kind of salty about that. I don't know why, but I'm like,
yeah,
you can't kill Iron Man. Like what? But also, Steve Rogers, he's still my Captain America. I'm probably people are gonna get a lot of hate in the comments or whatever. But by the
no,
way, I don't know why, because I see this new Captain America and Falcon. I don't know. I'm still not used to him yet.
no, no, and you can already like even from just the little episode that we saw from him, you're like, this guy sucks.
He
I
does.
hate that. I don't like to be a hater. I really don't. And I hate, I like to give
Yeah.
people the benefit of the doubt, but I'm just like, he says he's not trying to be a replacement, but here he comes just sauntering in like, I'm Captain America. Like, no, you're not, dude. And like one thing that really bothered me was in like the big old like the big old like truck scene that they had in the second episode
Yeah.
where they're fighting off the super soldiers. I mean, he straight up just pulls a gun and he starts shooting at the people, which,
Oh,
I mean, like Cap never did that. I think Cap only maybe used a gun in like, in the in
yeah.
World War II, but he just straight up just pulls out a gun. I'm like, Cap would never do that. Cap would just, fling the
I
shield. It's
yeah.
so weird.
It's so weird. Yeah, like, it's one of those things too. Like I'm still not. There's so much that I'm still not used to, but I don't know. Like I'm kind of willing to see what they're gonna do with the character, at least character development.
Sure.
So I was like, I don't know. There's something like you said. I'm so used to Cap using the shield and fighting. I'm not used to like you said,
Yeah.
pulling out a gun like shooting people or trying to attempt to shoot people. But
Yeah.
it's just a crazy. I don't know if you know this or not, but I looked it up. Obviously, I looked it up. This new Captain America. You might have known this, but it was a surprise to me that's Kurt Russell's son who plays Captain America.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I was like so surprised. Like I was halfway through the second episode and I looked it up and I was like, that's so crazy. Like I never thought, that he had family into acting as well. But I kind of felt bad after. I was like, I guess I give him another chance. I guess.
Yeah, and I looked him up too, and I saw that he originally auditioned for the original role of Steve Rogers.
Really?
Yeah, he auditioned for it, but I mean they gave the role to Chris instead. So, I mean, I guess he kind of gets in there, but I feel bad for him too because I saw this a couple days ago that people are bullying him so much on social media that he just straight up deleted his Instagram, which I'm like, I'm not okay with that. You cannot
No.
like the character, but actually going and like bullying the actor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a line between actually not liking the character and actually attacking him, personally, and over social media.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of crazy, I don't know. It's just a different road, I guess. I felt bad for him,
I
But
do
no,
too. That sucks.
yeah. So as I guess we kind of tend to start to wrap up here a little bit. I just want to know, so is there any last things you like to possibly to say or mention to anybody, or probably bring it up to Pedro Pascal if he sees this or anything like that, or anything? Is there anything else you'd
Um,
like to say?
oh, Pedro Pascal, love that guy. He's so, I don't know. I feel like if I ever met him, he would be just so nice. Yeah, love that dude. Oh gosh. I don't know if I have anything to say. If I'm gonna say something, it has to be good, it's gotta be memorable. Oh, I don't know.
Sorry, I kind of put you on the spot.
That's okay. No, that keeps me on my toes. I like being put on the spot. But, I don't know. Anyone out there, if you haven't had any water today, drink some water, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Drink some water, take care of yourselves. Don't take life too seriously. Have fun. And yeah, get vaccinated if you want to get vaccinated, go get vaccinated.
Yeah,
Good stuff
for
like that.
sure. Yeah, some great advice. Well, thank you, Mallory, for joining me, and I had a lot of fun. So thank you for
Yeah,
being on.
of course. Thank you. I had fun too.
Thank you.
Hey, did you like watching that last episode of What Really Happened? If so, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more content on this channel.